It's Friday, and here's a look at First News. It's fair, it's accurate, you get the damn truth. They found some new mass graves in Rwanda right now. They keep finding them 30 years after the country's genocide, in which an estimated 800,000 were killed by an extremist radical terrorist group that lasted 100 days. Stark reminder as that nation marks the grim anniversary next week of that melee. Every new discovery over there traumatizes all the survivors there all over again. Well, if you are traveling east, there is a major spring storm bringing heavy snow, rain, and winds to the northeast. It downed trees and power lines. Close to 1 million homes and businesses are without power at this point. 2 feet of snow expected in parts of northern New England today. You get up towards Maine, New Hampshire, places like that. They bore the brunt of the power outages too yesterday. Pretty much a classic nor'easter. The Weather Service said it was the biggest April nor'easter to hit that region since 2020. Over a foot of snow in New Hampshire, 17 inches in some places along the eastern seaboard. Iran's commander of the Revolutionary Guard, General Hossein Salami, said Friday no threat will now go unanswered in retaliation to an airstrike attributed to Israel that destroyed their consulate in Syria and killed 7 of their top generals. After thousands marched chanting death to Israel and death to America yesterday. Folks, do I need to read that to you again? You supporters of the Democratic Party. Death to Israel and death to America. And we're funding them. We've given them $10 billion and we keep sending the money. Antony Blinken, Joe Biden, keep funding Iran, and they're using it to kill people and plan their strategy on how to destroy our nation. And then there's Russia. Russia's renewing their strikes on the Ukraine energy system. Workers in Moscow are putting missiles together with better intelligence, and they're striking their electrical grid, forcing millions and millions of people to flee their homes. They have food shortages in Ukraine, and yet Blinken and Biden and the Democrats are not sending any food aid or anything to help the people displaced by this Russian war that's been over 2 years now since they attacked. Nothing. Drones, 60 of them exploding yesterday across the Ukraine, wiping out a lot of the country's energy infrastructure. And Antony Blinken, he said measures the Israeli governments have announced to expand the flow of aid into Gaza are welcome, but it's not enough to meet the Biden's demands for improvements to humanitarian conditions for Israel's enemy territory that they're in. By the way, folks, how much military aid did we fly in and drop into Germany while we were bombing Berlin and wiping out the Nazis and Hitler and freeing the world? How much aid did we do? None. Zero. It's war over there. Israel has gone beyond what any nation has ever done to provide aid for people, including the U.S. We're not providing aid to the people in Ukraine either. Israel is. Blinken once more. Don't forget, we have hostages still remaining in the hands of Hamas, a brutal terrorist organization, American hostages. And by the way, folks, we still have Americans behind enemy lines in Afghanistan. When Biden pulled out, and they're still hunting them like dogs, trying to find out who they are. The Taliban is expanding again in Afghanistan. Now they've restarted their terrorist training sites in Afghanistan again. Israel said we are increasing humanitarian aid to Gaza. Friday, Joe Biden told Benjamin Netanyahu the future of U.S. support for the war in Gaza depends on you doing more to protect the civilians there. We didn't do anything to protect the civilians in Israel, and they lost 1,400 of them during that attack in October. Hamas said 33,000 people have been killed in Palestine. Do we want to believe Hamas or not? Storms on the East Coast, storms on the West Coast. A new one swept into California again, forcing the closure again of Highway 1, the iconic Big Sur Highway. It's eroding there. Some of the highway is collapsing into the ocean. You know, 500 years from now, the new highway that they build along that coast, it will also erode, and they'll have to keep moving it further in. That's what happens with erosion. This one damaged one lane. They had to shut that down for a while. Denmark's in the news today, said there was a technical error that might make a Navy missile launch unintentionally, but don't worry, the missile won't explode. It'll just send fragments into the Danish waters. The problem arose with a Harpoon missile on a Danish frigate during testing. The military said only the booster is activated and there's no danger of a missile exploding. It said until the booster is disabled, there is a risk the missile could launch, but they're keeping an eye on it. Ships, by the way, in the region were asked to wait for the problem to be resolved. I thought there was no danger. But they don't want any ships in that area. None, zero, nothing with that missile. British billionaire Joe Lewis, he doesn't have to go to prison. He even pleaded guilty. Insider trading. Judge G.L. Clark in New York cited Lewis's decision to come to the U.S. from Europe to face charges. He's 87. They fined him $5 million. Recommended a sentence of 18 months. On the other hand, you have former President Trump, who, because of a rogue district attorney, faced a $500 million fine. No inside trading, no crime, nothing. No, there was no complaint. The banks were happy. In fact, praised Trump and his organization for paying back his money. She said he overinflated the value, fined him $500 million. This insider trader, $5 million fine that he faces, pleaded guilty. Stock slumped. The Fed yesterday raised the possibility of delivering no cuts in your interest rates this year because inflation is worsening, folks. The S&P dropped 1.2%. That's the worst day since February. The Dow, 1.4% lower yesterday. See, here's what AP does. Rather than giving you how many points the Dow fell yesterday, they give you a percentage of 1.4%.
Right.
Because that way, when the Dow loses, say, 750 points, it doesn't sound as bad. Markets are already unsettled. Oil prices jumped again today, folks. You'll notice it costs you now, if you have a larger vehicle, $100 again to fill up at the pumps. Asian shares are down today as well, too, and they're worried about it. Today we get the jobs report. Now, AP said they think we've added 200,000 jobs. We'll see what happens when the official jobs report comes out later, as the economy is sure to weigh in on Americans' minds in the November presidential vote near, according to them. Consumer prices were up 3.2% in February from a year ago. That's bad. You're paying more. Oh, they changed their mind. New York's governor has ordered the state transit agency do not impose a toll fee on the marathon runners during the marathon when they have to cross the bridge. She said New York runners will find every way they can to generate revenue that they'll miss when they close the bridge down because of the marathon. The governor said she directed the Metropolitan Transportation Authority to allow the marathon to move forward as it always has. The Metro declined to comment. Roadrunners didn't immediately respond to a request for comment either. They're one of the groups that put on the famous 26.2-mile race that draws in 50,000 participants from all around the country every year. Can you imagine how much money those 50,000 people were spending in New York for the weekend?
Exactly.
And they wanted to charge them $750,000 to cross.
What do you got to bring, like 12 quarters or something?
I guess. Who knows? And we're getting ready for the big eclipse on Monday. People already are staking out their spots within the total solar eclipse zone. Could be obscured by a lot of clouds, though. The path includes parts of Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, Texas. Eclipse watchers who get clouded out or rained out, you'll still be able to watch it online via the broadcast from NASA. And if the clouds don't get in the way, you'll have to wear special glasses to see it. Clouds are expected, though, in much of the path on Monday. The best chance of clear skies will be in parts of Arkansas, Missouri, and Illinois. Canada, too. They'll have light cloud cover, but parts of Ohio, Pennsylvania, Texas, they're all questionable. So kind of just a hit and miss thing for the eclipse on Monday. Well, 70 degrees today. We're going to see some sun this morning. Going to be a nice morning. And then things are going to change later on tonight as the rain moves in. It looks like kind of a rainy, cold weekend. Rain mixed with snow, that kind of thing. 44 tomorrow, 42 then on Sunday. 50 Monday, still some rain around. And then next week back into the 60s. Spring weather pattern, 39 now. That's what's happening. Mark and Paul here together on a Flakes Friday. Thanks for tuning into The Cat.